not too long ago, and it was announced maybe I think about 2 years ago that Bob Iger had recently came back into the foil for Disney, and he took back over as CEO, and it's exciting because he had a lot of plans to bring back Disney properties to what they were before the pandemic and what they were before the writer strikes and stuff like that. So Bob Iger stepped back in, and I'm just strictly going to be talking about the Marvel side of things because this is pretty big news. He was talking about Marvel here. Disney CEO states that quality over quantity is back in Marvel, at least he thinks. Let me pull up the article here because it's really interesting what he talks about, and he's being super transparent. Bob Iger calls Thunderbolts. Sorry, I have an ad. Bob Iger calls Thunderbolts the first and best example of Marvel's new focus on film. So Disney CEO Bob Iger sees Thunderbolts as the first and best example of Marvel's new focus on its feature slate yielding strong returns. During a press conference with Wall Street analysts Wednesday to discuss the company's better-than-expected results in the fiscal second quarter, Iger put the number one box office attraction into strategic context. He basically goes on to say, in our zeal to flood our streaming platform with more content, we turned to all of our creative engines, including Marvel, and had them produce a lot more, Iger said, echoing his previous comments since returning as CEO. He goes on by saying, we've also learned over time that quality does not necessarily beget quality. Let me repeat that again. We've also learned over time that quality does not necessarily beget quality. I hope I'm saying that right. Beget? 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 I don't know what that word is, to be honest. Frankly, we've always admitted ourselves that we lost a little focus by making too much. By consolidating a little bit and having Marvel focus on much more of their films, we believe it will result in better quality, and I think the first and best example of that is Thunderbolts. Okay. Does Bob Iger have a point? Does he have a point? Yes. The quality here for Thunderbolts is so apparent. It is so apparent. In my own review, which you can watch later after this live show, I stated, and a lot of people, not just me, a lot of people have been saying that this feels like a phase 1 old school Marvel movie. It feels like we are back in like phase 2, phase 3, where we're getting those quality singular stories that also set up certain things down the road. Now, one of the main focuses for Marvel right now is to make sure that they don't have to make audiences watch certain projects to understand the movie. Kevin Feige recently talked about it. He said he didn't want audiences to have homework. He didn't want it to feel like audiences needed to watch other properties, other TV shows, other movies just to understand this first one. Because let's be honest, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is about 35 movies, 34 movies, something like that, deep, with like maybe 10 Disney Plus shows, and it's a lot of content. It's a lot of backlog that you would have to get through if you want to quote unquote catch up and be able to understand what's going on. Excuse me, 1 second. Let me just adjust that right there. There we go. That's a little better. So yes, Disney has a little. They have a little project on their hands trying to rebuild Marvel, and Kevin Feige is also trying to rebuild Marvel too. So yeah, is this working right now? Yes. Let's look at it. Captain America: Brave New World, that was originally supposed to come out earlier than expected, than it did, excuse me. And they took the extra time to do some rewrites and do reshoots. They did a lot of reshoots. They basically remade the whole movie from like, I want to say halfway through. So they remade that whole movie. They expected it to, reports were saying that it wasn't very good, that first draft, so that's why they decided to come back and, go back to the drawing board and reshoot and rewrite and stuff like that. So, fair to say, whatever you guys thought about Captain America Brave New World, I personally did enjoy the movie. It wasn't amazing, but I did enjoy the movie still. So I'm gonna call that a positive for these new era Marvel movies, as we're just gonna call them, or Marvel projects. Excuse me. These new era Marvel projects. Second, Daredevil Born Again. Now, Daredevil Born Again was also one of those situations that kind of everything was bad, according to reports. Everything was pretty bad, and they went back to the drawing board. They said, "Hey, we're gonna delay this, and we will release it when we think it is ready to be released." Kevin Feige, he scrapped it and he reshot the first 4 episodes. And look, people love it. People love Daredevil Born Again. Whether you think it's better than the Netflix show, whether you think it's, I don't know. It doesn't matter, because the universal score right now on Daredevil Born Again is that it is a win. So I personally have not watched it. That is something that I also have to watch. It's really hard for me to watch streaming shows, guys, when there's a 2-year-old, running around and singing the ABCs 50 times a day. It's really hard to pay attention to the TV sometimes. However, I'll get to it. Regardless, Daredevil Born Again is seen as a win for the majority of the Marvel fan base. And then we have Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts, which we'll talk about a little bit after this. Thunderbolts is a huge win. It's doing pretty good at the box office, and critics are calling it one of the best Marvel movies since Endgame. They've said that so much, but I've seen it twice personally, and I can say, yeah, it is one of the better films since Endgame's release. And honestly, one of my favorite films since Endgame's release. It is really good. It is like very good, thought-provoking Marvel that actually makes you feel like you are watching a Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 kind of Marvel movie. So yes, Bob Iger does have a point here. That less content, more focus on quality yields good results. Albeit, look at this. I mean, they have like an 89%, 88% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's fantastic. That is just another win that they can. Rebuilding Marvel is all about baby steps right now. You need to build up to Doomsday and Secret Wars, and if you can get Rotten Tomatoes scores like this, and have overwhelming positive feedback, like this, like Thunderbolts has been having, that is a win. And then the money is going to come, because right now I believe they just crossed 200 million, something like that. They crossed $200 million at the box office, so they made their production budget back, and in order to make some profit, they're gonna have to probably go to like 380 to $400 million, which I honestly don't see them struggling to get. It's going to take some time, but I don't see them struggling. I want to see how the second weekend is going to be. We'll wait for that. But let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. The Disney CEO, Bob Iger, says quality over quantity is back for Marvel. What does that mean for the future? What does that mean for Fantastic Four? What does that mean for Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Secret Wars? These are all the movies that we know that are coming out, and it will be a part of this new regime to focus on quality over quantity. Let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments section.